Hello, everybody. Technical difficulties tonight, really. Oh my God. I went live and my screen is showing all sorts of weird messages and streaming. I don't know.
Oh,
I know, but it's fine. I think we're live. We're
yeah.
live. It's counted. Oh, wow. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Tile Nathan Show, sharing your stories with Tile Nathan. It is so good to be here with you guys again. I have my friend here, Kemi, and we are going to be discussing your fears, fears of the unknown, um, all sorts of fears that we all have, that we've had, that we're overcoming, that we will overcome. Um, Fear of life, fear of living. And we had such a wonderful show last week talking about our fears, and Kemi shared some of our very important fears with us. I should say a bit of a disclaimer. I am not a psychologist or a psychiatrist. I do not hold any education credentials towards that. What I am is your friendly neighborhood talk show host who wants to discuss your fears or challenge your thoughts such that you can revisit them and make the best of your life and living experience. So we are not offering any advice, any medical advice, and we are definitely not treating anybody, but we are just discussing our fears. And hopefully that with that discussion, you're able to challenge yourself and revisit what has held you down all this while, or even share with us some of your experiences and tell us how we can overcome our fears. So, welcome everybody. Thank you for coming. This is Tayel Nathan on the Ladies Corner Canada platform, and we're discussing our fears. Kemi, let's talk about our fears.
Yes. Fear.
Mhm.
So we covered a bit of that last week, but I wanted to just get into it. What is one thing that you could say that you were afraid of and then eventually faced it and found that it wasn't and had a very positive experience?
Well, I think for me, the one thing is fear of rejection.
Mm.
So, and it's always that moment where you've tried so hard for the person to like you and you want them to like you and you do everything. There's one particular person in my life that um for the longest I have wanted them to approve of me. And I'm typically not the one person who wants an approval from anybody. But this person I like, I just can you just please just like me? Can you just approve of me? Can I just meet your standard for can I be the girl, the woman, can I impress you? And it was big on me, and I really wanted that person to like me, to just think I was something. And it was that fear of what if she doesn't like me? What if she judges me? What if? And at the time, I had to say, whoa. Um, and like I say, I'm pretty confident in myself. I'm pretty okay. I like myself enough to say nobody can get me unrattled just like that. I mean, and I've been through a lot of criticism. When I was growing up, people thought I was fat, and I had to deal with that. Yeah. And coming from the background we came from, you couldn't be fat. You had to be, you had to be skinny. You dealt with the background of not being the tallest in the class. Remember, you had too
Oh
tall
yeah, so we had the biggest feet.
the biggest feet in the class, and you had to do with all those and I had to do with the fair, the criticism that you were not the smartest in class, you're not the first in your class, and so you were always trying to match up, and so over time you've learned to deal with those. Like, listen, I'm me. This is who I am. So for the most part, I've overcome and I've been able to accept myself and be okay at where I'm at. But then, and I grew into this adult life, and I meet this lady, and every time I see her, I just feel, wow, can you just, and although, like me, approve of me, and I don't even know why. And then eventually I realized that she probably may not ever like me or approve of me.
Oh.
And oh yeah, and that was the fear. Eventually, that was what happened. I realized that it was never gonna happen the way I wanted to. I was just not, I was just not going to fit that mold. I was not wise enough. I was not smart enough. I was not. My decisions were just not enough to that standard. And it's weird. And people might say, "Oh, really?" But we do this to ourselves, right? Sometimes I did it to myself, and And so that was the fear of I not
And I,
like.
and I think that's you touched on something there. There's certain things to do to ourselves. I think a lot of it is very mental.
Mm,
Because you look at young kids, right? They have no fear. They're not worried about anything. They have
mhm,
zero worries.
mhm,
Their biggest
mhm,
concern is, what kind of
mhm,
dessert are they going to have?
mhm,
And when you look at life through their eyes, you see that they're into exploring, they're into trying a lot of things. And I know when we were younger, we weren't allowed to do a lot of things that these young kids are.
mhm. I'm able to
And
do.
you look at all of these inventions, and we're talking about, startups could doing your own thing, and you see
Mhm,
kids and the sort of things that they come up with. I mean, like,
mhm.
and they're not afraid to try something,
And to explore,
and to explore.
you
And
know,
you talk to some of them, and look at someone like Elon Musk, I like a lovely guy, but I have a sense that the man doesn't even know what he's doing. He's just trying things out. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And it's just having a good time with that. And you see, and with that, I feel like you have a fuller life than when you worry constantly about everything that's going to happen. I always tell people when they're like, oh, what if this happens? I'm like, what if it does?
and that's the thing when you
Eh,
look at.
yeah, because this person you said was trying to like you.
I
What
wanted
if,
them to like me.
what if she liked you? Then what?
I don't know, and I never thought about it. Like, I it was just that she didn't, and maybe she did. Maybe she's just one of those people that just never gave approval. Maybe she actually did like me, but then I always just felt I was measured short, and there's that fear of failure,
Mhm.
performance pressure, fear of rejection, fear of failure, fear of a bad relationship,
Yeah.
fears all over the place. And I guess my one question to us listening is, so when you look at those fears, what has it prevented you from doing? When you look at fear of this, using my example, um, I not liking me and the fear that she would never like me, what did it prevent me from doing?
But what
You
did he
know,
what did he get you to do that you would not have done that then changed you totally
well,
from
it made me always want to. It was a voice in my head. So if I do this, what will she say?
Mhm,
Maybe I shouldn't do this. Maybe she won't like it.
mhm.
And then I pass on opportunities sometimes because I didn't want her to think I was dumber than I actually. you know, I didn't want her to think less of me because
Oh
I was
God.
always trying to, like I was always trying to, so I was not myself. I was always hoping for, you know, the person to
That's
like me.
Yeah, that's something I've learned over time, especially in my work. I work the kind of job that I do, I have a lot of superiors. I mean,
Mm,
I do have my own team, but I have a lot, like everyone is your boss,
mhm,
right? And one of the things that I've learned from doing that is not to be afraid to challenge anything,
mhm,
because
mhm,
everyone, no one knows everything. And
mm,
I learned, and I've been tutoring my mentees on the same thing, that sometimes you walk into a place and people are talking and you're the loudest person. You're like, oh, this is the smartest person. And my career has allowed me to see that nobody knows what they're doing. We're just winging it. And the person who wings it the most is the one who's most successful. So what's the point of trying to please someone or trying to, not be our true selves? Because inevitably every time you try to bend over to someone else, you lose a piece of yourself, and that takes away from your joy, your
mhm.
peace.
And
And then
that's
there's opportunities that you lose out on. And when we talk about fear, so very quick story about why I've learned to face my fears. So when I was in college, I was actually kicked out of college. Was kicked out. So first time I got suspended, just I was going through a lot then. Maybe we'll talk about it one at a time. So got suspended, didn't want my parents to know, so I struggled just to get back in. Got back in only to be suspended again, and the
okay.
teacher was really like, thank you for coming, and education is not for you, all the best in life. And that was my worst fear, that I wouldn't be able to get an education. What am I going to do? Da, 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 da. But then the worst thing happened, and
Your
I thought,
parents found
okay,
out.
my parents found out. I got kicked out of school. I went to it. And when my parents found out, they're like, oh, we're so sorry to hear you're going through this by yourself. right? And that was all they said. It wasn't, like you'd expect to become Nigerian parents, you ruined your life, blah, 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 blah. But they were just very sorry that I didn't trust them enough to share this with them. And I felt so stupid. That's so all the things I've been doing, trying to work two jobs just so, the school fees doesn't seem too high, too low, shock it here and there when you're repeating courses. I could have just come out and said, "Yo, moms, dads, this is what I'm going through. It don't cost me my education for now. What are we going to do about it?" But then the moment they found out, they became supportive and they helped me. And from that point on, I just thought, you know what? Everything you want is on the other side of fear. Because what
Mm.
is like my worst case scenario was my parents to find out they'd be disappointed. No, they weren't. They felt
And
sorry.
that is a very important thing that you've just, that everything you want is on the other side of fair. Because at the end of the day, all that is all in your head. Sometimes, for once again, I should put out this disclaimer. I'm not trying to invalidate anybody's experience. It is valid. If you feel that way, it's valid. But there are times when you just need to know that um it might just all be in your head. What is the worst that can happen?
That's the way I live my life. I always tell people like,
Mm.
oh, I'm worried about this thing, or people are let's use something that we adults are used to. Oh, I want a new job. Okay.
Mm.
I saw this job online. It's fantastic.
Mm.
I look at the credentials. Da, 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 da. I don't know what to do. I think I
Mm.
need to talk to the hiring manager. Find them on LinkedIn. Send them a note. Oh, but what if? But I'm so scared. Okay, what are you? And I usually ask people, what are you afraid of? I'm like, what's the worst thing that would happen if you were to send an hiring manager a personal
Mm-hmm.
note saying apply to a job? The worst thing.
It's a no.
They won't even respond to you. Like they might not respond to you. I'm like,
Yeah, yeah.
let's
Mm-hmm.
talk it out. They will ignore you.
Mm-hmm.
They will feel like you're overreaching and throw your resume away. In which case, that's not the job for you. Um, they might find your employer and say, "This person tried to contact me. Caution them." In which case, you don't want to work for a person like that, anyways.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So and that's how I do everything. Like you think about the worst case scenario. I was telling someone recently that, if you ask for something you want, two things will happen. You'll get it or you won't get it.
And there's that too.
However, if you don't ask,
You will know.
you won't know, and you'd never know, not even for now, not even for next time. And I know a few years, was it a few months or a few years ago, we're talking
Mm-hmm.
about shoot your shot,
Mm-hmm.
and I went to the grocery store to buy one item, and everybody, and there was a long lineup, and so I went to the front of the guy and I said, "Can I pay for my yogurt?" And he said, "Go ahead." That was it. He could have said no, and I would have gone back with my shame to the back of the line.
I'll go to the customer service aisle.
It's just
And
like, but little things like that. But then we always just never try to shoot our shot. We're always afraid. We're always fear holds us back from doing a lot of things.
and
And
when you look at how many women or men that have remained in abusive relationships because they are scared that one, if they leave, how would they survive? And then you stay in a horrible,
situation.
horrible situation because you're scared, you know. Um, and then you just stay there and you almost die there. And then your years pass you by, year one, year two, year three, year four, year 10, and you're there in a horrible relationship, marriage, boyfriend, because you're scared to
Friendship,
friendship,
there's some
work
people that are
relationship.
toxic. You can
Yeah.
be in work, can be in a
Mm-hmm.
work. I used to work in a place where
Mm-hmm.
when it got toxic, I just packed my bags and left. Everybody knew I was like, when it got
Mm-hmm.
toxic, I literally said, "Okay, this is great. Bye, everybody." Walked away, got a new job somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there was a colleague of mine in the same situation.
Mm-hmm.
There were two of them. One was able to sort of scale through, but then the other person, every time I saw him, would always complain. And I'm like, "Guy, you have twice as much experience as I have.
You can leave.
You've seen me literally move. Why are you still there?" Or it was a Stockholm effect. You're used to your abuser, so you're just going to stay there. And And that was,
So,
that was the one way, or they thought, oh, if I go somewhere else, what's going to happen? I'm going to have to learn their ways again. But you're in this very terrible, toxic relationship where you're not
mhm,
happy. You're not
mhm,
doing any of the things
mhm,
you wanted to
mhm,
do. No
mhm.
one listens to you,
You
you
you're
know?
sad all the
You
time.
start all
Like
the time.
I actually have that experience. I worked at this place where for the year and a half that that I was there initially, I thought, let me stick it out because I liked the location, I liked my office there, I liked the ambience of the place. But then the people that I work with, there was a couple of the leadership was oof, it was seriously, it was a rough bunch. Like if this was in a different third world country where maybe there were no rules, I'd be like, it's normal. But for this to be happening in Canada, I'd be like, oof, really? Like, well, the same after all, really. There's no privilege anybody should have. And it was really toxic, horribly toxic. The way they spoke to people, the things they would tell people to do, and I thought, I don't want to leave. I just, I got here. I like the location. It's proximal to everywhere I want to be. It's a nice office, and I stayed, 4 months and 5 months, and yeah, and I kept pushing. You have this drive in you, just it's gonna get better. It's gonna get better. It's gonna get better. And then I realized that no, it won't get better. You have to call it. And I think that's the fear of calling it. I was so scared to make that choice because from our background, being a woman, you don't leave a job. Like, nothing gets in between your money. You stay, like you work, you work, you
Oh,
work.
I like
So it's like I'm not just gonna leave because they are being mean to me. Like I could take a bit of harshness. Like seriously, no, I'm not just gonna, like what are they saying? Like I'm originally from Nigeria. We invented toughness and meanness, and we invented, like there's nothing these guys are gonna, And then month 7, month 8, and I'm like, month 9 is like, okay, bring out the resume. That's it's getting beautiful, And then 10, 11, and it's like, oh, did I just do that? Did that happen? Okay, HR just quit. The HR quit. When HR, so people start
each other
it's,
out their
it's
mouth too.
done.
Yes.
There's nobody. Anything was to happen to you. You're like, and then I thought, what is wrong with you? Why are you? What is your fear? You fear that you don't want to change, locations, the fear that you don't want to be seen as somebody who couldn't handle a bit of fire, maybe that pride in me that no, I'm tough, I can handle this. And then and yeah, and I did that. And then I called it and I left. But I do understand that fear of tomorrow. But you know what I want to talk about? I want to talk about what you said earlier about what you're looking for is on the other side of fear. I want us to explore that. Maybe this can be an encouragement to somebody who's in a situation right now where they're like um, unable to make a decision. I want to explore that. What you're looking for is on the other side of that fear. Fear of producing sometimes when I think of me, there's so many things I would like to do, but I'm scared. What if I do it and it doesn't work out? What if I waste all this time?
But what if
I
you do
don't.
and it works out?
What if it and it works out? You know.
Because we're all wired to look at the glass half empty. And I
Mm-hmm.
read something yesterday that all this half empty, half full. At the end of the day, if the cup is empty, you have to fill it up again.
Mm-hmm.
Thought, oh, that is, I mean, not in those words, but it made sense to me that, we're looking at the think inside the box, think outside the box. There is no box. At the end of the day, you just have to do what you have to do. And to your point, like everything, sometimes like, this is one thing I've been trying to cultivate myself. I mean, and there are days where I just don't know, but, when I look at fears, like, what is the worst case scenario? Right? And if the worst case scenario happens, what's going to happen to me? How would I feel about that? And then once you, for me, this is how I think of things. And once you accept that, and you're like, okay, am I willing to deal with that? And then if it's a yes, then I go for it. Because at the end of the day, you want to be in that position where you've done everything, you've lived your best life. When you look at people who've lived their lives, I used to do this thing where one of my mentors used to do it. It would read The Economist and look at
Mm-hmm.
obituaries of people.
Mm-hmm.
And nowhere in there, in all the obituaries in this world, have they said they lived, Mata Bennett or whatever,
John Doe.
she woke up every day and went to a job for 45 years and then died. No one cares about those stories. There are people like that. But then, are you living your best life? Are you living your fullest life? Or are you living your life based on fear and just comfort?
Are you being impactful?
Are you being impactful? Are you doing things that make you happy? Are you happy? And I know that they tell us that our generation, we don't care about a lot of things. We're always chasing happiness. But at the end of the day, like, you want to go to bed every night thinking that if this is my last night in this world, am I ready? And then if you can't do that because, oh, I should have written that book, or I was going to do that show with Taya, oh, I promised this person I'm not ready to go yet, Like, when you think about all those things, I feel like it should empower someone or strengthen someone to at least, and even if it's not the biggest fear you have, I'm not saying go dance with a snake. Or quit your job tomorrow when you have bills to pay. I'm saying, what are those little things that you could do? Is
Common
it,
sense it up.
yeah, is it, go tell someone, my name is not Sally, it's May. It's the little things, it's the littlest thing. And then once you do that, okay, you told that person to stop calling you Sally because that's not your name, boo. And then next month it is you go to Starbucks and you say, guys, you've been giving me milk all this time. I am lactose intolerant. Please stop. And then just little baby steps, little baby steps.
Hmm. I agree. I agree with that because I realized that for a long time also in my own life, I not to offend people, not to make them feel weird or not to hurt their feelings. I would just allow them to. It's okay. Just let him mean it that way. It's fine. And it wasn't bad. It was just that little. He added up, right? So when I looked at it, it was like my life became this gross tub of mistreatment where people would just do things or say things or be insensitive. And so I was making a joke the other day. There's this particular person who says, called me and said, "You're very sensitive." I'm like, "Yes, yes, it's okay. I'm sensitive, it's fine." Before I'd be like, "No, no, no, I'm not sensitive, I'm not sensitive." And I'm like, when you were saying such a mean thing, did you not think of the sensitivity of it when you said that to me? So when I react now, I suddenly become sensitive.
I
You
like,
know,
I love,
So I mean, yeah, call me sensitive, it's fine. If that is what you want to turn my
but at
reaction
least
to.
they know the kind of person you are. And I
Mhm, so
feel
don't
like,
say it again, yes.
yeah, and I feel sensitivity is the biggest value anybody can have. It
Yeah, but
just means that
people,
you care.
yeah, but then people would say, "Oh, don't be too sensitive."
I
Like,
hate that. That bugs me. I hate that. I hate when people say, "Oh, you're too sensitive." I like
I
I
am, yes.
as a person, and people who know me will tell you this. I have a very cold dispensation.
Hmm.
Very, very cold.
Generally. Hmm.
Generally, like, I mean, things that bother people a lot. Like, I have a friend, every time we've had fights, we always come to the table, and now we're getting to that place where
Hmm.
they call me out on my BS and they're like, yo, you did this thing, it really hurt me. And I don't mean to. And they know. But we've gotten to that point where I understand that something that I can just brush off and say whatevs, they can internalize for weeks and months and it just hurts them.
And there are people like that, and
And
who
people like
care?
that, we have to
No
understand this.
judgment. Yeah.
Yeah, no, and I envy people like that that can feel everything. I just shove everything down so deep and I just ignore
Then one
people.
day,
And that's where that coldness comes from.
mm.
But I really love that you're a sensitive person. Don't let anybody ever take that from you.
But
It's a
I'm not a
gift.
sensitive person.
It's a
That's the
gift.
no,
If you
no,
feel like
no.
if
I am not a sensitive person. That's the point I'm making. I'm truly
yeah,
not sensitive. It is when people want to do that cop out thing of I can say nonsense to you. When I call you out and say that's wrong, I find that offensive. Then they go, "Oh, you're so sensitive," you know. And before I'll be quiet, and then I wasn't sensitive then. And then the moment I say, because I'm learning now to realize what I don't want better, and then suddenly I become, "Oh, you've changed. You were not like this before." No, no, I've always been like this. I just giving you a pass.
welcome to the dark side. I
Because, It was because the fear was don't upset them, don't be rude to them, or don't. And then suddenly it's like, I don't know myself anymore. I feel really bad because one day just hits you. But
There's a book we have to read and talk about on the show,
what is
the
the book? Tell me.
the dance of anger.
The Dance
It-
of Anger. Yes, we have that coming up. We have that
We
coming
have
up.
that coming up. It's a
We have that.
fantastic book,
The
and
Dance of
basically,
Anger.
it discusses, and I think we can kind of delve into it. We've got time, and it discusses how women we've been brought up to be nice, to be sweet, to be that definition of enduring
Kind, motherly,
and
maternal.
motherly. So we tend to take on a lot of stuff, such that by the time we sort of reject things that we don't like, it's frowned upon, or we don't do it in the right way or in a constructive way.
Oh, and then
Because think about it, someone's been, doing the same thing to you every day. Just, it's irritating, not annoying. It grows over time, right?
yeah.
And then you get to a point where you're like, your elastic is stretched, so you explode. And
Mm-hmm.
then at that point, you're that angry person. No one ever thought about the fact that someone was stretching your patience. They were
Mm-hmm.
taking you slowly,
All
and
is
you did not
well.
know about it.
Yeah.
And so it talks about constructive ways to sort of talk and express yourself, which is when someone says something you don't like, you be like, great thought, but let's not do that for me. It's not my cup of
But you
tea.
see, the problem that I find is that I don't have a response immediately. There's
Mm.
times that I don't have a good comeback, or I can't. It doesn't hit me that this is what it meant. So it's like 3 months later, I'm like, what? Was that what? Did that happen? 3 months later, like now I'm thinking of a response. So 3 months later, I've seen this person, I've greeted them, I've talked to them, and I've said nothing. So now it's hard for me to go back 3 months later and say to them, so that conversation we had 3 months before, I didn't like it because now the time and the moment, the context
Time
is
has
all gone.
passed. Yeah.
So and that's why I'm like, so what do you do with all that emotion? But let's not deviate. We're
We're
talking about that.
deviating from
We're deviating,
fears
but
and
it's valid. It's
it
all
is
makes
it is
sense.
part of fear, like, right, the fear of speaking up when something's happening to you, because you don't want to be seen as, the person who doesn't like to have a good time.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
remember when I was much younger, I would go into places and people would make offensive jokes. They were funny,
Mm-hmm.
but they were very offensive.
Mm-hmm.
And I would laugh. And now that I'm older, I would go into a room, and when they make an offensive joke, I would be like, I am so uncomfortable with that. I don't know you that well. And, people are like, oh, we're so sorry. I mean, if I'm with my friends, there's a way that I would be okay with things. But if I'm with strangers or work people or people that, in a professional setting, they're
Mm-hmm.
saying things
Mm-hmm.
you don't expect, and I don't care who you are, I call it out. And 9 out of 10 times, people acknowledge their
For the
misgiving.
most part, you find
And
that
so
if
I've
you
had that
only,
person. I've had that person who was defensive, and I called them
but
out.
of course,
I said, "Would you like us to record this conversation and bring in a third party and see if they're okay with it?" They're like, "No, no, no." I'm like, "Okay, good. I'm not comfortable with it. Nothing you said is
yeah.
wrong. It's just uncomfortable for me."
Yeah. I
Yeah.
agree. I agree. I think that we ought to really revisit our fears. I'm looking at our time. We ought
Oh,
to really we ought to really revisit our fears. All of us at some point in time we need to sit down and say, why am I letting this go on? What is it that I'm allowing? If you don't like, so one that I found is sometimes you tell yourself to calm down. If you feel a certain way, your feelings are valid. If you go into a room and your body crawls, don't just think you're being irrational. Your body's crawling for a reason. If you meet somebody and they scare you or they make you feel weird, there's a reason why your senses, your spiritual nature. Don't invalidate yourself by not
they're not
taking
doing something about it
they're
because
not doing something about it.
yeah.
But the thing is to know what to do. And I think one of the biggest ways you can handle your fears, once again, I'm not a psychologist or a psychiatrist, I hold no credentials whatsoever, is to educate yourself. And it might be to read up about it, it might be to ask people, it might be to just think about it a bit deeper. Because, I had to take at the time, I had to really look at myself and say, "Hmm, this thing that I'm letting go on, or this, what I'm accepting, what is this? What is it doing for me? What am I? Because once you let the door open, then you think of people who are connected to you, who might also be affected by you allowing certain people to treat you a certain way. Like if I was to walk out on my children, my daughter saw um, a guy say something mean, leer at me or something, and I just shove it off. What message have I sent to her? In terms of how she sees people, and so they're uncomfortable discussions to have with yourself, when you're trying to educate yourself, but they're important.
They are, and your feelings are very valid, and you always have to remember that. 9 out of 10 times, we have this gut feel, and and this is how I always tell people:
Mm,
I live my life with no regrets,
mm,
because I make my own decision.
mm-hmm,
Every decision I make, I wear with my chest. I mean, I've made some
mm-hmm.
really piss poor choices, and you know what? It was my choice. I've dealt with it.
And that's also that
And
you're
and
accepting.
that's it, right? Every time I've
Mm,
made a decision based on what people have pushed me to do, and it has ended badly, I always hate myself because I always say you knew better,
mm-hmm,
right?
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
Because many
mm-hmm.
times people have their own ways of doing things, and
Mm-hmm.
you have your ways of doing things.
And it
And
doesn't work for
it
everybody the
doesn't work
same way.
exactly. Like, I was talking to my mom on the weekend, and we had a really deep conversation about life in general and things like
Mm,
that. And, we all agreed that, she's lucky. If people tried what the things she's been through, it wouldn't have worked out for them. And in that case, you should never give advice based on a life and just, you
there are
know,
some people that you really have to be careful.
there's some
I,
people, yeah,
yes, I agree. I've met some people that when they tell you some of the things they've done, I'm not like, listen, I'm not, just don't even tell anybody that kind of a story, because you have to really be careful, because you kill somebody. Um, like I'm one of those people that um, yeah, when I was younger, back then you take an exam in secondary school. The day I attempt to cheat is the day the professor will catch everybody. I'm
I
that person.
I'm that person too.
I'm
I'm
that
that
person.
person. Actually, no, I'm
So
not that person.
so to the point where um my friends would say, "Don't ask her." Back then, when I was, secondary school, the second secondary school I went to, they said, "Don't even ask her." The other one, don't even ask her, because I'm the one that the moment I look around, and most of the time, my own aim is to help, or I could tell you it's okay. The moment I choose to engage in any kind of conversation, it's me. I'm always the soft bump. They'll see me, they'll catch me, and I'll be the one in trouble. And it's happened multiple times. I'll be like, but it wasn't even my fault. I didn't. I was just trying to help. So then, once I knew that about myself early on. So everybody is running a race. I just take my time.
Absolutely.
I cool it down. Everybody's doing something. I'm like, let me just calm down. Everybody's going to, I don't know, what are they doing? I don't know. I just know that once I attempt to do it, if it's bound to fail, it just might fail on me.
It's interesting you mentioned. I was talking to my sister about this. And like, when people like, if I do something bad, no one ever gets caught. Like, no one.
Yeah, the other flip of me.
I'm on the flip of it. I'm the
Mm.
one that. But my sister, on the other hand, if she were to even try something half as bad,
If you
that's when
just
like
think it, somebody's catching your thoughts.
exactly, exactly. But then I'm just so particular about the way that I live my life because I'll be honest with you, I don't want to go. I don't want to do some jail time. I don't want to get into trouble. I don't like trouble. So I'm always just very respectful. I remember one time I went to the ATM to take out money.
Mm.
I found an envelope with $500 inside. Legit.
Ooh.
I had to take that money to the nearest branch and say I found this money. And they said they were shocked I wouldn't tell you what bank this was, but they were shocked when I brought the money back to them. Like, it's an unmarked envelope. If you took, and they had to ask me, like, why did I bring it back? Because I'm like, it's not my money.
Maybe it was a dead drop.
I don't, can you imagine someone comes after you 2 days later? You've gone out and you've had a, you've taken your friends out, you've had some steaks, you've had some wine, you've had, everything's popping and they come at you like, where my money at? But that's the kind of life that I kind of get into. I'll be somewhere and things are happening around me, and I know if I got into it, nothing would happen. I just know. Like everyone sees it. Like, if you want to get, if you want to be lucky, hang around me. I get in, like, the kind of things that happen to me are surreal. I would tell you, I could tell you stories, but yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
But then you see, you do that and you do that, and then you don't even know how far you've gone until the one day everything just comes crashing down. But about that money too, I wouldn't take it either. Just so you know,
I like, the bank was
I.
closed. So I went, I banged on their door until someone came out because they were doing their closing out at the
Mhm.
back. And I'm like, listen, someone left this. I don't know what they needed the money for, but and it was one of those unmarked, hundreds. It was like large bills too. And I give it. And I wouldn't even lie, the day that happened to me, I was cashing my last $40. I gave it all the same. But I thought, someone might need it. Whether or not they did something with that money or took it home for themselves, I do not know, but I did the right thing.
Well, the thing though is it was not yours.
It
So
wasn't mine.
that's the standard. It was not yours. If it's not mine, I'm not taking it. Because you
Mhm.
see, you never know. You never know. And I like that. I like that you brought that up because you truly never know. It's part of having standards. You do the right thing irrespective. I like that.
Yeah,
I like
one
that.
time I
And I'm
flew.
shocked. Sorry, I'm just I'm
Yeah,
shocked that they were shocked.
they
So
were like, it was one of those things where like, why did you bring it back?
so
Like,
that's the point. Why must we think that everybody's so so
everyone just thinks that you're that way. I've been in situations where,
that
you
that's
know,
that's very offensive to me.
yeah,
So if I do something good, they're gonna judge
yeah.
it and say that's not
Oh,
normal. So
one
humanity
time,
is just supposed to be bad now.
yeah, one time I went to the grocery store, and the lady at the counter gave me mad attitude. It was terrible, terrible attitude. It was bad. But then I forget how much. But then I forget how much the, like, whatever I went to buy was a certain amount, and I gave them money, and they gave me too much money back. Like, you give someone 20 and they give you $78, and you're going to your car thinking.
What did I
I went
just?
to the car. I'd
I
sat there,
know
and I'm like, that doesn't make sense. So
that
I go
wasn't
back out there and I said, I think you gave me too much money. They're like, what do you mean? I'm like, I gave you a 20 and you're taking back a 5, and this is like a 70 something. And they were like, oh my goodness, I'm so sorry, blah, 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 blah. But I gave them back their money and I walked away. But, like I said, I get all these lucky, lucky situations where I could literally just, I mean, I could tell you all kinds of funny stories
maybe
about
you're
luck.
being tested.
Maybe I know that's why I keep giving these things back, because I'm like, God, see, I'm a very honest person. So now, showers
Let
of
the
blessing.
blessings come down. I know a couple of times I've gone to the store and they undercharged me. And I'm sure maybe that has happened even multiple times that I didn't pay attention to the receipt. There are times when you just
You just buy
pay
things and you
and
go.
then you go, and maybe they've even overcharged me. But I feel a couple of times I remember I looked at the receipt and I thought, wait a second, that doesn't. And I went and I said, you guys didn't charge me. And the lady, so this one instance, she took it back and acted chilly. I don't think she wanted her manager to know or notice. So I was trying to be like, oh, okay, okay, okay. Just do it. I'll pay. Calm down. Because she was like, thank you so much. And I felt, oh, that's pretty nice. Because I think at the end of the night, if they don't balance or something, they take that out of their pay.
Oh, you don't go home. When I
You don't
worked
go
in
home.
retail,
Yeah.
like, you could sit there trying to find 10 cents, and it's like it's 10 bloody cents.
I
Like,
don't like cash
there you go.
management.
And then you have to keep going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. So every time someone would give us like tips, because we worked at Canada's Wonderland at the time, shout out, I would just keep all my change on the side. Um,
Just so
just
that
to
if you didn't balance.
just so if I don't balance. And you always have those weirdos who come in and give you $5 here and there. And like, we can't take tips, and they're like, just take it anyways. Oh, it was fun times. It was good times. It was good times. But I must say that I feel for people like yourselves who cannot get into any kind of trouble.
Yeah, that would be me. But you know what, though? That's a fear of not getting into trouble.
Have you ever gotten into real trouble where you're like, oh, I know the answer to that question. I'm going to skip it for next time.
Okay, okay. You tell me the answer later. Because I think it would be a no,
You've
but
got you've gotten into real trouble. I'm well aware of your real trouble.
when was this?
We were much younger than this.
Ah, that trouble, eh? That's one. That's one.
That's one.
That's one. Okay. We're not going to talk about that trouble on
We're
air.
not talking
We're
about that.
going to go ahead and talk about concluding this show. um,
This was
about
fun.
our fears. This is fun. I enjoyed this
I
show.
really
When I
enjoyed talking about fear, but now that we've talked about a fear and we've openly just kind of talked about, we talked about acknowledging fear. We talked about just, fear is what it is. My interest in fear. We talked about that. But then now that we know that the big fears are small fears, are tiny fears, what is one
irrational
thing,
fears,
irrational fears, irrational fears? What is one thing that you think you're going to tackle
a
for the rest
fear.
of the week? One fear that you're like, oh, I might as well not. What you're going to do because we've had this conversation and you're feeling fearless or fierce.
Fear of not judging myself. Wait, is that a fear? Um,
It could be anything. Doesn't matter.
so not. I guess what I'm not gonna do is um give up and just sometimes you get so overwhelmed. You're like, I'm done, and there's always that fear that I'm just gonna be done.
Hmm.
You're stressed out with work and you just wanna say some things. I guess that's not a fear, really. That's caution. What is the fear?
Caution and fear kind of intertwine, right? Because you're
Mm,
being cautious because you're afraid of the alternative. So you're playing safe. Is that
mhm,
you're mitigating your risk because you don't want to take them, right?
mhm. So I think I'm gonna mitigate more risk so that I don't blow things. But I think that's not the question you want me to answer.
No, the question I'm asking you is, what is on the other side of fear that you're going to go towards?
Yes, there's something I should be doing. I should be writing more, and I'm scared because I don't think I'm good enough
But
anymore.
you wrote that lovely book and I read it and I sent it to my niece and she liked it. And it was a very, oh, my bad. I'm so sorry.
It's all right.
Oh, 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 oh.
It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. But yes, there is a book. What is the title of the book again?
But I say
Where
it,
is yes, please. It's on.
it's such a
Where is Toby
magnificent
now?
book.
Really? Thank you. It's on Amazon actually.
It's on Amazon. I'm gonna buy a few copies. I think you should pick one up. Toby's mom, and I feel I loved it. And I now that I know where it is, I'm going to get a few copies. Um,
Thank you.
Friends support friends, and listeners support friends because we're all
Thank
friends here.
you. Where is Toby
But
now?
yeah, but I also think a fear that you should address is you need to address the fear of not trusting yourself to do fantastic things.
Maybe that's the fair.
Yeah,
I
you're
have not.
very creative. And just from that book that I read, fantastic. I liked it. I liked that you took a real life situation into something fantastic. And I thought, oh my goodness. And when my niece read it, she was she was giggling all the time. like, so
Thank
yeah.
you. This was probably the first review, non-family related. Because I did that and we put it on Amazon, and I didn't do anything about it. I haven't marketed it or
Yeah, so here's what you got to do. This is free marketing 101.
mm,
Just FYI, guys, I'm not a marketer myself, but you got to buy whatever you send to Amazon. You got to buy it all out and then inquire about it so that Amazon can come back and say, we need more copies from you. And then that way it becomes, what's everyone reading now? What's hot? Because people are looking for things like that. And so you get more of it there. And
that
that
is how they do that.
piques people's interest, right?
That is $1 million advice. Oh my god, if you're
Something
watching
else,
this show
something else
tonight,
you can do. Something else you can do.
mm,
Good advice. Look for other children's books and
mm,
say, I really like this book, like this other one I read recently. Because
enough
people
said.
are reading reviews. People are reading reviews. They're saying, what can I buy for my kid? You're bringing that into your. So yeah, you gotta get out there. You gotta remember this. No one's gonna do it for you.
I agree.
I'm a prayer. I'm a Christian, and I pray a lot. But I learned something over time. The Bible talks about you pray, and God isn't going to come down and give you what you want. I mean, we expect that. I've seen miracles happen, don't get me wrong. System glitches in my favor, which is fantastic. However, I'm telling you, I can tell you all kinds of stories. However, you just have to just trust that whatever you've put your path towards, you're just gonna land. You're just gonna land. And you got to do it. And I feel like it's a very strong book. And because I'm your friend, I'm gonna look for it. I'm gonna buy a few copies. I'm gonna send it to a few friends that have kitties, and I'm gonna go to two different books, and say this is such a great book. Like this other one I'm reading.
I love you. Thank you so much.
But
Thank you so much. Thank you. I am really touched that you're gonna do that for me. Oh, I'm not gonna cry.
oh, it's okay. Anything else on the other side of here? Just figure it out.
Thank
Also,
you though.
shout out to Taya. She started a business doing taxes. Is that it?
Account. Oh my, it's all about me tonight. Eh? Yes, account and taxes. I do taxes now. Your T1s and T2s, business taxes, business plan writing.
Oh, I do need a person to help me with my business taxes.
Well,
I'm gonna hit you up right after this because
yes, we'll talk
we
about that one. That
yeah,
one we'll talk about it. Yeah, so I do taxes. So come tax season, and if I can't do it, I know somebody who can. Or I know people. I have a network of accountants who are very good at what they
yeah,
do.
but you're also an accountant, right?
I
Like
am. I'm just saying though,
CMA, CCC, FACCA,
an alphabet soup by now.
alphabet soup. I
Yeah,
love.
A B C C E D F E G X Y Z. All that.
Oh my goodness. Oh, this has been lovely. Okay,
This
we
is
still
really
have 20
fun.
minutes.
Oh my god. So yeah, we're being that thing again where we are just not caring about people's time. Let's go now. I think we've done enough talking for tonight. Thank you
Absolutely.
everybody for watching. We truly appreciate this. We have so much fun on this show. Please join us. We're sharing your stories. Email us, text us, leave a comment, call us. Want to talk about your stories, you validate us, or invite us to your events, where we can actually host live talk shows
That would
at
be so
your
much
events.
fun.
It would be, won't
Oh, yes, it will.
it? It will be. So, well, this is it, guys. We have to go now, Kim. Even though I know we could talk more, but we should go now. I think we should go. We should go. Okay, fine. Let's go. Thank you, everybody. My name is Tyrell Nathan. This is Kemi and the show is done. We love you. Thank you so much. See you next Tuesday, next time. And what are we discussing? I don't remember.
Oh, next time, I'll tell you. I'll tell you. We're being organized right now. So next time we're talking about Thanksgiving. What are we?
Thanksgiving. Turkey. It might be a better Thanksgiving this time because maybe people can actually visit. I don't know what the COVID regulations are. Last year, I ate out the food. It was not very good. So this year, let's go.
I still have to buy a turkey, but we'll talk about
Mm.
it next time.
And ham.
Hmm.
Or just kill a goat and just roast the thing with suya.
Who's the goat?
Thanksgiving.
We gotta end this.
Let's end the show. Okay, guys. Final ending. They say good picture ends 7 times, and I did like my fourth time ending. So let's just go ahead and end the show. Thank you, guys. Have a great week. Enjoy. Educate yourself about your fears. Don't be scared.